As I indicated in my topic, I would like to talk about Russian aggression in Ukraine as a game changer in Eastern Partnership. So basically, I would try to elaborate on the Eastern Partnership as a whole as a policy of European Union, not only talked about Ukraine. And actually, I have some remark to the name of our panel. So because I think that ethics of the Ukrainian crisis is, for us, it is not correct because we talk not about the Ukrainian crisis. If we talk about only problems with our authorities and with our not firm path on reforms, yes, it is. But we would rather want to talk about Ukrainian-Russian conflict, not only Ukrainian crisis, because sometimes it's used like cliche just to substitute the real essence of the problem. So basically, Russian aggression. To understand the problem of the Eastern Partnership, maybe I would start with some points of prehistory. In my take, Eastern Partnership was built on some false premises. And it was a big problem to have tangible results within this policy. Because in my view, being a part of civil society which is engaged in Eastern Partnership initiative, I don't think it's a great success. I'd rather could measure it like a moderate failure. The first fault premise, I would say, maybe it is open-ended policy of Eastern Partnership. Because when it was proposed by Brussels, or initially by Poland and Sweden, there was no, and there is no, membership perspective as a kind of ultimate goal that could motivate countries or authorities or elites of these countries to go on this path of reforms. So I think it's a real problem whenever we come to the policy which described as policy with added value. Another point which is connected to this, the previous one, that this added value is quite vague for our countries. For example, if you would take Ukrainian case, Ukraine started negotiations about enhanced agreement in 2007, 2 years before the launch of Eastern Partnership. And we were quite successful. And actually, association agreement, it was a name which was negotiated directly in the negotiation between Ukraine and Brussels, in the European Union. So basically, we proposed new policy. We just copy-paste our successes on bilateral level and put it in a basket. So basically, it was quite difficult for us to understand what is the added value for Ukraine with these 600 million euros being divided into 6 countries. So I think sometimes it hampered the real progress even from Ukrainian side. And as I mentioned already on different occasions, we know that our politicians blocked some initiatives of Eastern Partnership on multilateral level because they were quite confident the bilateral one is more interesting for Ukraine. That was the point. So it was the first premise. So open-endedness of this policy. The second one, I think it was underestimation of Brussels of flexibility of elites of post-Soviet countries united in this policy, in their commitments and not delivering on their commitments. Just to give you a flavor with Ukrainian example as well. Starting from 2003, we have a kind of action plan within the our relations of framework of relations between the European Union and Ukraine. And all time with renovation of the documents, this set of reforms was put in this document from 2003. And in this year, we're still in the process. So actually, we're agreeing, we very often agree that we want to do something, but we do not deliver to what we're doing. And I think that Brussels made a mistake just not estimating in the right way how flexible we are on that, getting money and not delivering what we're supposed to do. The third one, and it is most connected to our topic, underestimation of Russian resolve to counteract any activity of European Union in this region. It was already said by previous our panelists about ideas that Russia openly stated that it is a hostile policy in near neighborhood, near abroad, as they say, and also Russia employed other policies, hostile policies towards our countries and towards European Union itself. For example, we could just name alternative integration process, which was launched almost the same time as as Eastern Partnership. We can see the trying to put all the negotiation topics from multilateral track to bilateral track. For example, gas issues, where Ukraine was involved. They were trying to make it on bilateral Brussels and Russia, without no transit countries, for example. And at the same time, they're trying to downgrade Brussels activity. They wanted to talk to capitals, but not to Brussels as a negotiation point. So basically, a lot of instruments that were employed, and it was already that from the very beginning, Russia was underestimated in its resolve. Fourth point, I think that it was not European policy, but Eastern European policy. Because when you happen to see the picture of those countries from European Union participation in events of Eastern Partnership, you will see basically Eastern flank. Romania, Poland, Czech Republic, Slovakia, but not those from Western Europe. So basically it remained the Eastern or Central Eastern European policy, but not European policy. And that was a problem. Yeah, so one country was, yeah. Yep. So Russian aggression as game changer. So what changed and what happened since then? I think that we could say about lack of clear vision on securitization of the region from the side of European Union. So basically, beginning from the Russian-Georgian war, we saw that the direction was quite weak. And it was quite an invitation for Russia to go further in just widening its limits in cooperation or in just interaction with European Union. And with Ukrainian case, with aggression in Ukraine, I think that this example was only doubled. So the reaction was very weak. And it just pointed out that there is no clear vision how to react to that. Second, territorial integrity and sovereignty breaches. There is no explanation needed for that. You know perfectly what's going on. Third, reality, inability to apply CSDP as a tool for conflict prevention or resolution in the region. Okay, we're doing fine in far ends of the globe, but when it comes to near neighborhood, it's very difficult to apply and to find some instruments which already in the toolkit have to react. Next problem, human rights protection and monitoring. Take Crimean case. Human rights abuses, take case of our prisoners in Russia, illegally detained. So basically have to make this protection more stable and more coherent, and have to even to measure the level of these abuses. Migration crisis, IDPs and refugees to other countries. Recently we wrote a paper with Anna for Forum, and we just gives us some data about IDPs. Due to some official statistics of UN agencies, we have around 1.2 or 3 officially registered IDPs in Ukraine from the region of Eastern Donbass. Yes. I can just count on with these instruments of changes in this region, but what was the reaction of the European Union to that? Actually, there was a reassessment of European neighborhood policy, and it was launched in 2015. It was quite open in its process. The consultation process was opened for different think tanks, NGOs, and so on and so forth. And there is a clear concept or communication paper issued in November. And there is another document, Global Strategy, which is quite fresh, as we know. And I think it was a kind of seeking for answer for this region. But what was the problem with the first document? The first document states on some positive moments that European Union could deliver in the region. For example, more financial support for the countries, trying to melt down relations with those countries which were in blacklist, to say so, in relations with European Union, and so on and so forth. But actually, security aspects are not covered enough in this document. What to do? I will try to maybe to be kind of positive thinking, not expert, but activist here. I see that we still have the kind of light in the end of the tunnel, and there are some points I would like to highlight in this respect. The first one is, I named it strategies into tactics direction. So basically, we have a renewed European neighborhood policy. We have a global strategy, but actually those documents are quite general, and some tactical documents should be elaborated to make it more clear. For example, global strategy, although it is stemming from the European security strategy, but it says very little about security instruments and security tactics of European Union. And it is clear now that there would be a kind of white book on security, which would be a next document on the global strategy. But I think that this white book should give clear answers how to make CSDP policy more oriented on this region, how to make, for example, human rights protection mechanism European Union has more open for regions in the neighborhood, and so on in this direction. So the next point is union of unions. I think that the positive sign for cooperation with neighborhood and with Eastern Partnership region could be from European Union initiative of energy union, for example, when some initiatives and some standards are unified not only within the member states, but with states which are neighboring ones, with states which are closely connected in some kinds of energy infrastructure. Another one, defense union. It is still long prospect to be elaborated, but I think maybe with Brexit it could have another blow to be set in motion. But I think more defense initiatives which cover regional aspects could also be positive for Eastern Partnership. 3+ multilateral approach to security. I think that those AA club, 3 countries which have signed association agreement, they should be more engaged in some kind of multilateral track of cooperation, because at the moment we are not so close in our cooperation between ourselves. Moldova and Ukraine, Ukraine and Belarus, Belarus and Moldova, for example, or Georgia and Moldova, Georgia and Ukraine. So basically, more initiatives within these 3 countries, plus those who want to join from this region, but actually with some prerequisites to be with some prerequisites to fulfill from this side. And to wrap up, I would say that there are some initiatives which are worth of trying, but I think the political will should be from both sides, from the countries of Eastern Partnership and from the countries of European Union. Thank you very much.